Glad to have you join us again. If you just joined us, this is Business Breakfast, broadcasting live from our studios in Lagos, iBrandTV. Now let's get talking now as we dive into a conversation segment of the program. Export trade is generally considered a veritable instrument for sustainable economic growth, as it normally facilitates improved foreign exchange earnings, strengthen the balance of payments, encourage the development of export-oriented industries in the manufacturing sector, increase the profitability of firms, create jobs, and increases government revenues through taxes, levies, and tariffs, all of which will be cumulatively accelerating economic growth. Now, despite improved effort to strengthen the Nigerian non-oil export in the country, the value of Nigeria's non-oil export revenue recorded a marginal decrease to $4.5 billion in 2023. The drop represents a $300 million decline from the $4.8 billion revenue accrued to the government coffers in 2022, and $500 million less than the $5 billion target set by the council, that's the Nigerian Export Promotion Council, last year. Lead consultant 3T Impes Consulting Limited, Dr. Bamidele Ayemibo, joins me now live virtually to give us more insight into this development. Good morning, sir. It's a pleasure having you join me on the program.
Good morning. How are you today?
Very well, thank you. So good to have you join me on the show.
Thank you.
Now let's get talking now. First and foremost, let me get your thoughts about the performance of the Nigerian's non-oil export sector for the year 2023. What do you have to say, despite the volatility and everything that surrounded the Nigerian economy last year, both the operating environment not being spared out? How would you rate the performance of the Nigerian non-oil exports last year?
I mean, the NEPC executive director already gave us the summary. There's a decline in the non-oil export from Nigeria. My suspicion for this is based probably because of the incentive and program that CBN had put in place, which has contributed to an increase in the volume from 2022 to 2023. But the program was stopped in 2023 because of the new administration and the new, of course, leadership in CBN, and that probably explained the reason why there is this drop. I mean, so for me, I don't think it's unexpected, because the incentive that CBN was trying to use to drive people to come and do export was withdrawn.
All right, now let's look at some of the macroeconomic challenges that we've been facing in the country. How do you think that, especially the volatility in the foreign exchange market, we're expecting, according to what I read in my intro, that an increase or an improvement in the foreign in the non-oil export will bring about an increase of dollar supply into the country? But that seems not to be the case, because we keep to see some kind of volatility played out in the foreign exchange market. With all of this volatility, how do you think this is hampering the operation or the growth or the overall performance of the non-oil export sector?
I mean, generally, if the rate has been stable or going up, of course, to the advantage of export, and that should show attract more exporters coming into the space. The challenge right now is that it's unstable, and that volatility makes it difficult for exporters to be able to plan, predict, project in a way that helps them to be able to maximize, of course, the state of Naira vis-a-vis foreign exchange in Nigeria. So for an exporter, the rate going up is a good news, because for a productive economy, you won't be complaining about rate going up, because to the advantage of productive challenge for Nigeria, what we're concerned about rate going up is because we're not very productive. But the real issue is the volatility. But at least if it's stable, it becomes easier for individuals to be able to plan and be able to project, and that helps to be able to grow the sector. But with the volatility, of course, I expect that would significantly impact the volume of trade, particularly export, that will likely happen this year if this is not nipped in the bud before the second quarter.
Nothing seemed to be okay. Let me put it this way now. Do you think that the federal government is really doing enough to explore the unique potential in the non-oil export sector to grow our revenue, to grow its revenue base, one, improve stability in the foreign exchange market, and also diversify the economy? Do you think so? And in what best strategy do you think? What best strategy do you think the government should be employing to achieve all of this?
I don't think so. And sometimes I'm almost believing maybe the team within the administration don't believe in non-oil exports. I'm almost, apart from the effort that NEPC is making, NEPC is an organization that is under a ministry. There's so much they can do. They need the support of the presidency to be able to do as much as they should. So I think, I'm thinking that the administration seems not to believe that a non-oil export will be able to solve this problem. Or maybe because it's going to be a long-term thing and they're looking for a short-term solution. There's not seems to be a lot of talk. I don't get to hear the president talking about it. I don't get to hear the minister talking about it, both trade and finance. I don't get to hear about it. And when I'm talking about it, I'm emphasizing it and coming up with program and initiative to drive it. And I don't see CBN also doing it. So I'm not sure the administration really believe that export is going to be a solution to the challenge we are having, because I can't see anything being done in that regard, apart from the little effort of NEPC. Like I said, that effort is very, very small because the organization does not have enough resources to be able to push as much as CBN did when it was doing its ROT 200 and a number of other initiatives of government in the past.
Now, you are an expert in the non-oil export sector. I see you do a lot of trainings in this regard now. How can Nigerians, at this point now I'm looking at those who are operating within the lower cadre, small exporter now, how can they take advantage of AFTA to boost their trade promotion outside Nigeria?
AFTA is a big opportunity to be able to boost trade of Nigeria. But the fact that also, now this also speaks to the fact that I've been saying that my thought about the seriousness of the government on non-oil export, this also is validating that. The fact that the guided trade initiative has started, countries have started trade in Africa. It started with about 7 countries. South Africa has joined a number of other countries. Nigeria has not joined because we've not finalized all the processes involved for us to be able to take part in that process, even though we have signed and ratified. Also speaks volume to the readiness or preparedness of the government and belief of the government in the fact that non-oil export is the way to go. So, in as much as we want to encourage businesses to do it or to prepare for it, to take advantage of it, but the fact that Nigeria has not finalized on the processes involved to get that of origin required to be able to participate in the guaranteed initiative under AFTA is also of concern.
There is a report I got in the course of the week, I think it was on Monday, and that only 3% of trade happened within the continent, despite the signing of the AFTA agreement, compared to
only what?
3% of trade.
That's not true.
I got the report on Monday from the I can't remember the association now, but I think it has to do with the economic community of West African states or so. If I get the report, I get to share it with you. And then we're seeing that only 3% rather of trade within the continent is being recorded despite the signing of AFTA. But then again, we're seeing a higher volume of trading activities outside the continent. How would you react to this? And what would you say? We'll say is the should I say the side effect of AFTA that is not enabling exporters to take advantage of it?
Now, 3% of trade done within Africa is not true. Maybe they meant 3% of the intra-African trade is from ECOWAS. That might be true if they said ECOWAS, if you are hearing it from ECOWAS, and they say only 3% of trade in Africa because intra-African trade is about, some people will say 14, some will say 15, some will even say 17%.
All right.
So if you say 3% is from West Africa, maybe, but if the Africa is just 3%, that's not correct. But even the 15% is still small compared to EU as a population of about 500, minus Brexit less than 500. With Brexit more than 500, EU control about 30% of trade in the world, and about 70% of that trade is intra-EU trade. Now, Africa is about 1.3 billion people. African trade to continue to trade in the world is about 2.5%. 2.5, and about 17% of that is intra-African trade. So even at 17%, even if you say 17, it's still small. So one of the reasons why AfCFTA became necessary is to actually solve that anomaly, because we have a huge population. We should be able to trade a lot among ourselves and grow intra-African trade, but we do not have framework to make that happen, and that's the reason why AfCFTA was signed, to be able to increase intra-African trade from the very low level it is right now to an appreciable level that will be able to increase wealth and reduce inequality on the continent.
Do you think that local exporters in Nigeria are actually taking advantage or are even aware of the African Free Trade Continental Agreement? Are they really aware of it? And for the few that are aware of it, are they taking advantage of it? That's one on one hand. Then secondly, why do we still have declining volume of trading activity within the African continent, just like you rightly mentioned? And what should the government of this country be doing? Because over time we've seen you see an ambassador of UK come to Nigeria, and there's this bilateral ties being signed between both countries. You see the ambassador of the US visit Ghana, and there is a bilateral ties being signed. But we've not seen a Nigerian president or a Nigerian ambassador visit a Ghanaian ambassador or a Kenyan ambassador or a Rwandan ambassador, and then they come about some kind of bilateral ties. Why are we having some of these issues? Does it really mean that we're not seeing that rich potential to trade within the continent?
Now, number one, being aware is the right question. Many are not even aware, so there's a need for a lot of publicity for SME to be able to get to know, number one, knowing that the program exists, know the product they can ship under the program, know the profit and benefit of the program, know the how to be able to how to promote and get buyers and get their goods to the export market. So there's a lot of information around that. That's a major work that needs to be done by the National Action Committee on AfCFTA in Nigeria to get that message across. But that should be done when we are ready to trade, because it is right now we don't have that framework yet. Now, about the fact that trade, what's the second question again? On
bilateral relationship, yes, that is affecting.
I remember.
Yeah.
I remember. Now, we don't need that. We don't need that within Africa, because we already signed an agreement that enables trade easily within Africa. But doing that with other countries around the world, we definitely need that. We definitely need that. But we don't need to go to Ghana, go to Rwanda. We already signed an agreement that enables us to trade freely. So it's for us to put our house together and be able to implement the agreement we have signed with them already. But with a country like what the president wants to do in Qatar is commendable. I don't know how much trade we currently do with Qatar. I don't know the content of the agreement with Qatar. I'm assuming it should be within probably oil and gas space and the like. But we need that kind of arrangement where we move from country to country, but it should be done in a way that we are doing that with countries where we have potential to be able to trade products that Nigeria already have a competitive advantage in.
All right, now I need to get your thoughts on this. Now, I was speaking with a packaging expert some weeks ago about why some made in Nigerian products are being rejected largely from foreign countries. And would you want to share your insight with us on that? Could it be the result of packaging? Could it be the result of the product itself? Or could it be the result of the ways and means the channel they use in exporting all of these products? How do you react to that?
The reason why Nigerian could have been rejected is lack of export readiness. Lack of export readiness. You don't hear that the Olam exports commodity and is being rejected. Any business who understands, before you can do this business successfully and sustainably, you need to be ready. Let me define export readiness for you.
All right, please.
It's the ability of a business, it's a multifaceted concept that involves the ability of a business to successfully enter the export market, sustainably compete in the export market, and significantly grow its market share to become established in the market. So if you do not get ready, and there are about 15 criteria of export readiness, which cut across the promoter being ready, which cut across the pricing being ready, the preposition of the staff, the being able to promote, getting partner abroad, understanding the people in the export market, being able to raise money. So there are a lot of things that need to be put in place. If I do not do what I need to do, like when you talk about quality, quality has to do with, about the issue with product quality. It has to do with packaging, it has to do with the products that was procured itself and that was processed, if it's a processed good. Now, if I don't understand, imagine I was talking to a Nigerian Promotion Council official who was talking about an issue they had in Lagos about a company that exported cashew nut to India, and the cashew nut had issue in India and the buyer rejected it. Now, the exporter exported a cashew nut that have issue with moisture. Now, that's an issue that could have been resolved before the good leave Nigeria. That's a knowledge issue. That's an issue of readiness. So I think it's more on the issue of readiness. If you are ready, you will know the right packaging to you. You will know where to get the packaging. You will know the quality specification. You know exactly what to do to ensure you don't have those issues at the destination. So we should be focusing on getting the businesses ready rather than setting up a committee to solve the problem, whereas we're not going to the root of the problem. We're just cutting the fruit when we're trying to set up a committee to solve the problem. Get the business ready. The business will know what to do to ensure we don't have that issue in the export market.
All right. Now, all of this that you've made mention on, I believe they're in the purview of the Nigerians, non-Nigerians. Yes, exactly. So, how would you assess the roles of the NEPC in improving non-oil exports vis-a-vis all of these issues that you've mentioned? And then again, are they doing enough in capacity building?
No, they do a lot of capacity building. I will give that to them. They do a lot of capacity building. But they don't have enough funding to support. They don't have enough funding to support the growth of non-oil exports in Nigeria. They gave me about 50 billion after COVID, and a lot of businesses got that money that they used to develop and expand their operation. But since that time, they've not gotten that kind of money again, that kind of grant from the government. So they need a lot of support from the government so that a lot of their initiative and plans and programs can see the light of the day. So that's why I still go back to the presidency. For me, the issue is not with NEPC. I work with NEPC and I know they try to do a lot, but they're also incapacitated how much they can do because they don't have the full support, in my opinion, of the president. For example, NEPC wants export growth. NEPC wants reduction in the freight charge of goods from Nigeria. NEPC go to FAN, telling FAN to reduce the landing fee for cargo airline and airline coming to Nigeria to be able to reduce the cost of shipment. But the FAN will not reduce its price. Why? Because it also have a revenue target from the government. If the presidency is what both of them are working with, both about presidency, then the presidency will be able to tell the FAN, look, we need to grow non-oil exports. You need to reduce your fee for the purpose of ensuring that what NEPC is trying to do to grow non-oil export happens. That's why I said I think the box is top on the table of the president to be able to ensure that Nigerian exports grows by ensuring that its lieutenants, from the minister to all the DGs and the leaders of different government parastatal related exports, wake up to the responsibility of growing non-oil exports in Nigeria.
The presidency you rightly made mention of is the captain of the country, but then again, you also did made mention of the fact that it has ministers, lieutenants that it works with. How can we get the attention of the minister? I believe the NEPC fall under the Ministry of Trade and Investment. How can we get the attention of the minister to do the right thing? That's on one hand. And secondly, in what way would you advise the NEPC to engage private sector players to come in and show more interest? I strongly believe that the banks also are showing interest in all of this. For the leadership of the former CBN coming up with an incentive to boost non-oil export, it shows that there's a lot of potential in this. So in what way do NEPC now strike a balance by getting more private sector to invest more in the operation or to invest more in the non-oil export sector, and also get the attention also for the federal government through the Ministry of Trade and Investment to show more interest into this sector?
To get the attention is you guys in the media we appeal to.
And that's what we're doing now.
You need to talk more about export. You need to talk more about export. You need to do more program about export. You need to put it on their face as frequently as possible. We need forex in Nigeria. We need to grow non-oil export. They need to know they're not doing enough in that space. Regarding NEPC, I will repeat again, NEPC is incapacitated. There are a lot of incentive in Nigeria by law that to NPC don't have funding to back them up. If the presidency provide the fund, NPC will do their job. They have a lot of incentive. You'll be amazed. Nigeria have more than 10, 15 incentive to grow. Some of them are established in laws in Nigeria. Miscellaneous Provision Act of Nigeria. So we have laws to encourage non-electors. We have the incentive in place, but they are not being implemented because there are not enough funding to help NPC implement those incentives.
We need to wrap up this conversation now, but I need to get your thoughts on this. The export of our agricultural proceed. How well are we doing when it comes to that? Because I know that Nigeria is among the top growers of agro-commodities such like cashew, cocoa, sesame, sorghum, ginger, among others. How well are we taking advantage of this particular agro-commodities in terms of exportation? Are we doing well across this value chain?
We are not doing well because we don't even produce as much as what the demand is. We need to, number one, add value to them. So government must incentivize adding value, because if we keep exporting the commodity, we're not going to make enough money. A container load of cashew nut at about $1,500. If I put 20 tons in the container, let's say about 15 tons, let's say 20 tons for ease of calculation in a container, that's about $30,000. If I remove the shell of that cashew nut and convert it to kernel, I can sell it for as high as $7,000. $7,000 for 20 tons in a container, that's $140,000. I'm going to ship the same container, it will cost me about 1,500, 1,600 euros to send it to Europe. But I'm going to generate more if I add value to it. So we need support of the government in terms of power, reduction in the cost of diesel, cost of gas, and to be able to encourage value addition and production, to be able to get people to do enough value addition. But we also need to ramp up the volume of production of those commodities. We are not producing enough in terms of those commodities. So those are getting old. So we need to grow more plantation and also support businesses to be able to add a lot of value so we can get more benefit from the export of those commodities.
Finally now, we need to go now. Doctor, what is your outlook of the non-oil export sector for this year 2024? You've rightly said that the government is not doing enough, and with all that we're seeing in the country, there seems to be some kind of volatility in the volatility and uncertainty in the economy. Do you see the non-oil exports actually doing well in terms of performance compared to that of last year? Just going by the fact that we have a new sheriff in town.
Now, I will talk about it from two perspectives. On the part of government, I'm pessimistic based on what I've seen so far. I'm giving benefit of the doubt, hoping that something will happen before the end of the year. But on the part of the private sector, yes, because because of demand for dollar, a number of importers are coming into the export business. They need to generate forex to fund their import bill. So a lot of new entrants are coming into the space, and that might contribute to whatever increase, if at all we see increase, whatever increase we see this year, I will attribute it to a lot of people coming in because they need to generate forex to be able to fund their import bill. On the part of the government, until I begin to see deliberate effort to support what NPC is doing from the presidency, I'll be pessimistic as to any appreciable increase as a result of government effort.
We'll leave it at that. I'd like to say a big thank you for your insight and expert analysis on this issue of non-oil exports as the conversation actually dovetailed to. I'd like to say a big thank you to you, lead consultant, 3T Impulse Consulting Limited, Bamidele Ayemibo. Thank you so much for your time with me on the show today. We're definitely going to call on you again because you said we need to do more awareness for government to know what we are doing.
You need to do more awareness. It's so important.
Definitely we'll call out for you again. Thank you so much for your time with me on the program.
No problem.